Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. We are doing a career mode, so to speak, for Gallop Racer 2006. So last episode we raced a computer horse, and today we are going to breed our first racehorse in the Gallop Stallion. Naomi says, "Welcome to Gallop Stallion. This is an attraction where you can create and manage your own custom horses. You can use your horses in other modes besides theme park mode attractions. Create the strongest horse you can and go for the glory." All right, so we got about 148,000 points. We haven't created any horses yet. So let's go into the breeding thing. I may cut a part of this video later on when I'm trying to find the right horse to breed. Long story short, I'll give you a preview. We went through every single horse pairing and ended up back at the beginning. All right, first we're going to look just at the breeding information for a given horse. We're going to pick the best filly on the board, which is Frugalark. Here you can check the ability and lineage of broodmares, and then you just hit breed and hook up with a male horse or a stud, and it will predict the outcome. So looking at Frugalark's card, she has grit and close race okay. 8 to 12 furlong preferred distance just off the lead. Sustained growth type, a open circle for toughness, which is the second highest, open circle for counterclockwise, and a double circle for turf, like regular turf instead of wet or yielding. So pretty much Frugalark is good at middle distance races going counterclockwise on the turf. And this is going to look really familiar to the horse we end up breeding at the end of all this. Here's a look at the pedigree. There are a couple of things to look for in the pedigree button. On the pedigree chart, pardon me. You are looking for orange colors because that indicates inbreeding. You're also looking for a black horse head, which equals a minus trait. And so looking at this chart, on the top we've got explosiveness. On the bottom we've got gutsiness with a little bit of willfulness back a couple generations. So explosiveness for me is a preferred trait. Speed is a preferred trait. Gutsiness and willfulness are not as beneficial, in my opinion. All right, so I don't know why I just did that. So let's look at some other fillies here. And I'm just doing this for instructional purposes. People have never played this game before. We'll look at Simple Moon. So Simple Moon is a sprinter, 5 to 8 furlongs, preferred distance. Likes running in the pack. Sustained growth, again, double circle for turf, prefers turf only. Just switching to these next horses, and you can look and see the distance. The things I'm looking for are the growth type for sustained, and I'm also looking for toughness of an open circle. So Crazy Expert has got sustained growth with a toughness circle and a double circle at turf. And you know, the thing is, you could breed the same parents over and over and get a different result every time. All right, Smoky Spear is a horse I like, good on the turf, wet or dry, sustained growth, and it's got some explosive skills there. Last to first and best course, which is a little bit harder to unlock. So that's just a look here. And then up on the right hand side you see strengths and weakness. So looking at the pedigree chart, we've got some speed in there, we've got some gutsiness in there, and we've got explosiveness in there, and all that is good. We're going to look at breeding pairs. I'm going to end up not breeding Smoky Spear, but I do like Smoky Spear as a broodmare in this game. Definitely all about the turf, though. It's going to tell you how much it costs to breed the horse and the potential outcome of the breeding pair. All right, so the top rated male is Polish Beat. As you can see, he also specializes in the turf. But these horses are related to each other, so that's why it says too much inbreeding. I've never done a breeding pair when it says too much inbreeding, but I've heard some of them can be very powerful. I've also heard that they can be an absolute mess. Here's the next most expensive sire, Fast Navy. Again, a turf specialist, sustained growth. He's got last corner leader as an ability, which I don't put a lot of stock into. Goodbye Gem, another sire I really like. We'll probably breed Goodbye Gem and Smoky Sphere at some point. Turf specialist, 10 to 16 furlongs, so longer distances, sustained growth. Got explosiveness on the bottom, and he also has stretch burst. Look at that. That is a good pairing, and it's just 10,000 to breed that. And I mean, in theory, starting off, you get 10,000, you could breed this. But then you wouldn't have any money to actually take the horse out racing, because it would cost you another 8 to 10 to take it out racing. So we're going to do that breed pairing because it's got 4 filled circles. And there's the baby horse. That's how baby horses get made, folks. You just hit the button and they get made. All right. 5 stars for vigor, 4 stars for calm power and smartness, 3 stars for future. It is a middle distance horse. The comment, this one will run well on grass, I bet. So it kind of looks kind of average, even though this pedigree is amazing. Look at all the explosiveness and the gutsiness and the speed thrown in there. Really tremendous pedigree, but the horse is good, but it's not fantastic. So the way horse names get made sometimes is you take part of the dad's name and part of the mom's name. And so I think it's Goodbye Gem and Smoky Sphere. So we're going to call this horse Smoky Gem. And I'm sure there's a Smoky Gem out there somewhere, like a real gem that has a name. Like, I don't know, like a black opal or something, you know, but whatever, we're just going to call it Smoky Gem. We're not going to get too complicated. All right, let's go take a look at our horse here in the paddock. So this is 1 out of 100 horses. And I'm trying to hit horse data, but I'm too dumb to figure it out. So it'll be a minute, but then eventually I'll hit the circle. There we go. So here's a look at the card for the horse. 4 abilities. Likes to run just off the lead. It's got a triangle interval, so that's not great. The interval is not great. So I think the order of precedence is double circle, single circle, filled triangle, empty triangle, and then X. So that's kind of average interval. But 4 abilities is insane. Yeah. Smoky Sphere and Goodbye Gem. So we got Smoky Gem, and that's what this horse looks like. So this is our first bred horse. Sorry, I talked about chopping this earlier. That's for the second breeding we end up doing, which is going to be a couple episodes from now. All right, so let's go to the theme park. We are not going to save. We are going to save? I think I'm not going to save. I don't recommend saving after you breed the horse. I recommend saving after you race the horse and it performs well. All right, back to the title collection. So this pairing costs $10,000 to breed, but then to race it, we're going to go to My Horse, and it's $8,800 to race the horse. So you really need 20 grand. So that's why breeding right out of the gate without racing first can be a tricky proposition, because you might not have enough money to breed the pairing you want and then turn around and race it. All right, so Smoky Gem, we are going to look for a race here. This is all game flavor, rivalry, horse equipment, and stuff like that. And if the equipment did what it does in real life, like to me, blinkers are an important piece of equipment. Allows the horse to focus more, and then whether or not the horse is on Lasix. So if you're making a modern version of this game, you could add blinkers or add Lasix to make the horse go better. Lasix is a medication, but they don't have that. Blinkers in this game, they do have them, but I think it's just for flavor. Believe me, if it made a difference, I would use it. I don't think it does. All right, so these preliminary races are just to see what we have here. Our odds are 0.9 to 1, so this is a strong horse, just based on the odds. You can feel very comfortable that you're going to win these races starting off. Real quickly, if I contradicted this earlier in a different video, I apologize. So the weather condition is in the upper right-hand corner. It says SY, that's sunny. There's going to be a CY for cloudy, RN for rain, and then SW for snow. And then the track condition F/F means fast and firm.
The horses
so
are in the
other
gate.
things you might see would be M if it was muddy, Y if the ground was considered yielding, like it gave way underneath the foot of the horse. That could happen on grass or dirt.
And away they go.
All right, terrible start
it's a late
here in our initial race for Smoky Gem. As you can see, quickly comes up into the green. We're in last place, but that's okay. Even though this horse doesn't like to run there, I think we outclassed the competition to the point where it isn't really going to matter. Now, ideally, you want to run the horse just off the lead. All right, we're going to start turning outwards. We're in the yellow here, but I wasn't losing a lot of the green meter, so I didn't make any adjustments. And then we put on the whip,
An amazing burst
and
of
as you can
speed.
see, we're riding unchallenged to the finish line. So that was a pretty good first race. I'll take it.
We have a winner.
And that's win number 1 for Smoky Gem. Won by 5 lengths. All right. And we didn't make any bets because the odds were so terrible. I will give you a sneak preview. In a future episode, we hit a monster bet. A monster bet. It's going to be awesome. I think I'll put it in the title of that video, the monster bet. Again, I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. All right, so we got that double circle for the regular track. Oh, the distance. Preferred distance is between 9 furlongs and an unknown distance. We have a filled triangle for a tight track, filled triangle for clockwise, filled triangle for a racing interval. So all that, in theory, is just average, if I'm remembering this correctly. Actually, maybe while we're looking for our next race, let me try to look that up. If I could spell triangle correctly. All right. So we went to the Online Racing League World. What do the circles and triangles mean? According to the manual, it's the forecast of the race. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, this is about... Yeah, I don't want that. I want other stuff. Okay, that's not right. Horse racing shapes explained.
The horses are in the gate.
Did we already run another race? No. All right, we're about to run a race.
And away
All
they
right,
go.
here we go. We're off. I'll get back to the triangles and circles in a minute. Again, we fell back. This track is going in a different direction. But we're racing in the green. I'm not totally concerned. And we're in the yellow now, but again, we're not burning any energy. Now we're starting to burn a little. We'll go to the whip. And we're going to cruise right to the front. And we're going to pull away from everyone, even the horses that we're trying to keep with me.
Excellent!
So we obliterated the competition there. All right. Back to interpreting the horse shapes. This comes from Reddit. Double circles A plus, circles A, solid triangle is B, empty triangle is C, X is an F. Okay, so double circle, anytime we're looking at the horse card is great. Circles almost as great. Solid triangle is a B, empty triangle is a C. X is terrible. All right, now that we're all fully educated. So there you saw the card. This horse excels at racing on dry turf and is not great at anything else. All right, still trying to get the upper distance for this horse to come into play. You know, I can tell you in the past I bred a horse that could literally run 8 and 9 furlong races, and that was it. So I'm hoping that this isn't like a 1 furlong distance horse that has more to give than just 9. All right, we're gonna buy a ticket on ourselves. And we're gonna buy an Exacta for 3. All right, and we're stepping up in competition a little bit, but we're still a clear favorite. And so I think we're going to have an easy time. We're racing on the outer turf track here in Philadelphia. Got a really good start there.
And away they go.
And I'm just mindful of whether or not these turf tracks have rough or not. This one has rough. So you want to get out of the rough. Even for the horses that have a special ability that's called rough okay, I would not race in the rough. Although you can see the computer horses race in the rough and are totally unaffected by that. I would not do that. And that basically just means the track in that part is really chewed up.
Okay, this is where the race is won.
See, it immediately exerts more for the horse. We went from green to yellow, started burning energy. So that's not good. Here we're going to cut to the inside, I think. Oh, he's going to move out of our way. All right, we're just going to split these two horses right here. A little bit of a risky maneuver. We're not crushing anybody, but we're not really challenged either. If you look over the right-hand side, it's important to pay attention to that. Because occasionally you can have a horse come up from the outside at exceedingly fast speeds, so you really need to be aware of who is coming up on you. All right, so another win under our belt. And we did not get our Exacta, but we did collect our win. As you can see, sunny, fast, and firm in the upper right-hand corner for that track condition. So just pay attention to that. The manual is around here somewhere, and the manual is so badly printed, I can't really read it. It's like super blurry. A concern for me is that we haven't triggered any special abilities yet. And here's the thing, sometimes with horses with a lot of special abilities, it's very difficult to trigger them. Now, if you go to the Gallop Racer subreddit, and maybe I will do that, maybe we can find the listing of all the special abilities, and I'll read them out to you. All right. My own subreddit. There are 8 members. All right, we're already into the next race, Harvard Stakes. You can see it's rainy. G and G. I'm trying to imagine what G and G. So G might be good, and then the other G. That I don't know.
And they're off.
I'll have to look for that. You think I would have looked all this stuff up before I started doing videos on it. All right, track descriptions. Are they even going to talk about this? I don't know. All right, back to the race. We are totally in the rear. Way in the back. We are probably not going to win this race. This tells you that your horse does not like wet grass.
They're midway down the back stretch.
And boy, this is just terrifying. Unless you had a horse that loved to run in the rear and had last to first and was prone to getting revolutions, which you saw, or maybe we'll see. Did we have one with Mist Horn? I think we did have one. This would be terrifying. You got to whip at 2.8 if you're this far behind. Look how slow it is to catch up. And then that's your run right there. We're not going to do much better than this. We may pass some horses. The special ability does trigger stretch bursts, but again, we finished 6th. That is not good at all. All right. Does this ancient thing talk about track condition at all? I don't see it. Oh. All right, this walkthrough I looked up was for another thing. All right, turf and dirt, running style. No, they're not going to talk about that either. Good grief. I'm sorry it's difficult to find information about a game that is this old. I will keep looking though in between races. We're going to find our next race here. Maybe Atlantic City. Or Georgetown Stakes, just to see how we do against tougher competition. Atlantic City's got the preferred distance, though. I guess we're going to do Georgetown. All right, while that is looking through, let me see if I can find a little bit more information. I'm not holding my breath here. Let's go to my own subreddit and see if I can find the answers. All right, here they are, horse abilities. So there is an entry on the Gallop Racer subreddit called Horse Abilities, where I do talk about how to trigger each special ability. So if you get it and don't know how to trigger it in the future, and we're just going to read one of these. Closer, catch the leader just before the stretch. There you go.
And away they go.
Grit, speed up at 1 furlong remaining and head to head. And then another one example would be last corner leader, 3 to 1 furlong remaining, take the lead from last place in one jump. So those are all examples. So once you figure out what these special abilities are, that entry on the subreddit should help you figure out how to trigger them. But triggering them to find out what they are is totally different altogether, because if you don't know what they are, I wouldn't just randomly go doing these triggers to try to make them go. You know, you want them to occur organically when you're running the horse. All right, here we take the lead going down the stretch. Again, not really challenged. Everyone is falling back. And we're going to win this race with ease. All right.
We have a
Another
winner.
win for Smoky Gem. I'm going to keep looking for those track types. I feel certain that somewhere out there on the internets, I'm going to stumble across this information. But I got to tell you, again, for a game that's this old, it's very tough to find that. All right, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about breeding. Here's a game fact for the previous game. All right, let me go get the manual while we're finding our next race. And we'll thumb through it together and see what's in there. Also, I want to mention another version of horse racing. If you can't find Gallop Racer 2006, there is another series called G1 Jockey that focuses more on the jockeys. I do own a copy of G1 Jockey 3. I don't have any intention of playing it because I vastly prefer this game. All right, so we're looking at this blurry, faded manual, and we're going to thumb through it while we go through some races to see if we can find out a little bit more information here for you guys. Horses, titles, breeding, blah, 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 blah. All right. So let's talk about racing ability. Speed, top speed at which horse can run. Staying, ability to stay at top speed. Stamina, ability to run over long distances. Braking, ability to reach top speed quickly. Power, power needed for a tough track or slope. Feel, ability to easily shift speed. Fierce, desire to burst ahead of other horses. Tenacity, desire to keep going when exhausted. Courage, desire to perform in a large-scale event. Look at that. So courage if your horse has a lot of courage, that means they are better in the bigger and more important races.
And away they
And
go.
response, ability to swiftly respond to jockey signals. So in the beginning, I recommend using horses with a good response. Because again, it's just like clicks up and down on the D-pad. And it's very difficult to keep some of these horses into the green. Very difficult. Which I would tell you is the preferred running method. Alright, so we're in the mid-pack here.
Okay, this is where the race is won.
It says it's a fast pace. The lap split times don't bear that out. They'd be red if it was. Trying to save a little bit of ground, but also have to move out a little bit because the horse ahead of me are moving out. We're going to go to the whip here at 2.1 furlongs remaining. And we're going to go right to the front. And we're not pulling away. Only the 9 is slowly gaining. Look at the one horse coming up from behind, but there's just not enough room left there. All right, so let's talk about course aptitude. Turf MY. Turf course skill, M meaning normal, and then the other one is skill when course conditions are bad. All right, so I think we have a circle, a double circle, and then a triangle. Again, the other stuff we already talked about. The abilities, again, if we had them and it was a question of what they were, I would read them, but that doesn't. All right, so let's talk about the controls. You flick the reins with the D-pad, like the D up button, you flick the reins. So really quickly, turf. So again, you can see when the conditions are bad for turf or dirt, this goes to a B rating. All right, so we flick the reins with the B. Rein in is down on the D-pad, and then left to right is the direction of the horse. So there are different kinds of whips that you can use using the buttons. So you can just show the whip with the triangle button on PlayStation 2. You can normal whip, which is the circle button, which is usually the button I use when whipping the horse. You can shoulder whip the horse with the square. And I would only shoulder whip a horse that had a special starting ability that we'll talk about in a minute. And then you can switch hands with the whip. Like if you're side by side with a horse on your right side, maybe you switch your whip to the left side. I don't know if there's such a thing as impeding the whip. But the starting ability, there is one called whip, and it says accelerate smoothly out of the gate with whip. So in some of these races, you'll see right at the start, one horse will just take off. And so my belief is those horses controlled by the computer have this whip ability. And I would use the shoulder whip for that ability to trigger it. Now that being said, we can go back to our horse abilities thing, and it says whip trigger, use whip at break, and then the evolving skill is called hyper whip. Who knows what that does? All right, so blah 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 blah. I just want to mention there's a way to mark a rival horse that lets you know where they are during the race.
The horses are in the gate.
It's not discussing the weather conditions yet. It also doesn't help that when they printed the manual, they printed it against a colored background.
And they're off.
So it's like there's like a horse tie-dye, you know, on the paper itself. So it's like, great. I can't really read this because there's some tie-dye shit in here. All right, anyway, we're at the back of the pack here. We are going to try to cut to the inside of this race. And so far, that's not really working out very great. But we do somewhat have a clear path. I am speeding up a little bit here. Somewhat intentionally, you can see the red triangle there. That's me increasing or decreasing the speed, and I was desperately trying to decrease the speed, and my horse was just not having it. Please keep in mind that your horse can run away, and you might not be able to control it at some point. So flick on the reins with the D-pad very cautiously to increase speed, because what you don't want is your horse blowing all of your energy at the beginning of the race, because you'll just get skunked at the end. You want to save some energy for the end. And that's that green bar that's going around the picture of the horse. All right, so that wasn't even full for us, but we're going to take off here. I'm hoping this will trigger a special ability. We nose ahead, and we'll go to the whip, and we don't get any special abilities, but we do win the race. The number 10 came on at the end, but way too late. And so another win, not the win I was hoping for, but another win. All right, I'm looking under the race guide now. And it is not really talking about the weather conditions at all. All right, so I found the description of the triangles. So remember, my horse has the triangle lit up in the second position from the right. That's how these are determined. We'll go back to the... Oh, hey, we won the best 2-year-old colt. That should get us 1,000 points or G's. Thank you, Naomi. All right, so a successful first year of racing. We increased our horse's ability from A to star. We unlocked a stretch burst ability. So let's go back. You can see the energy is gray. So stretch burst means shows power. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the right one. Stretch burst is excels at final burst of speed just before the finish. All right, so We're going to get into that race there. So when we get back into racing, we'll talk about the triangles. But again, I'm not seeing... I'm not seeing the track condition being described when the weather is there. But again, the manual is confirming what I've been telling you. You want to race the horse in the blue or the green and avoid the yellow or the red until the end of the race. Just one man's opinion. When a horse veers to the side after entering the final stretch or as the result of excessive use of the whip, it is called wild. When this happens, just relax and either pull the reins in the opposite direction of the veer or apply the whip onto the veering side, and it should straighten out. All right, here's the part where it talks about revolution. Revolution occurs when you ride your horse so perfectly that you draw out its maximum power. For the remaining 1 to 3 furlongs, if you use the normal whip and can match up the red or blue mark in the slots, you'll see special stage effects, and your horse will be able to run faster than its normal limit. But if you get jammed in or your horse loses spirit, revolution will end, so be careful to use the correct movement strategy, i.e. have a clear path to the finish. And then I can barely read this. It says, horses sometimes exhibit powers that transcend that of the human mind. If you match the slots in the below positions, you may catch a glimpse of the power hidden within your horse. And they're just talking about forming that little Mobius strip at the bottom there, which we're not going to do in this race. Here, we're going way too fast. You can see that green meter going down. You don't want that happening at this point in the race at all. You want to be in the blue or green, because that in theory will add. But I think because we've used some of the green meter, it's not going to build back up. So just know that you want that to be as full as possible. And again, it's easier for some horses to fill that green meter than others. And then the red one right there is the whip thing. So when you whip and that's empty, your horse is going to react badly to that. So that's why I usually only whip 3 to 4 times. After 4 times, it usually is empty.
We have a winner!
All right, so another victory. We are tremendously happy about that. And I did not talk about the positioning of the horse things, but we'll talk about that now. If the fourth triangle or the triangle on the far right-hand side was lit up, that's called the lead, a horse that prefers to run in the front position. If a horse also has aptitude for head, which is the second position, it also has power from second or third position, but otherwise may need to be in the front of the race. So we're down here where it says leg on this screen right above the graph. That's what we're talking about. So the far right-hand one would be lead. The one that's lit up for us is the second from the right, and that one is called the head position. So that's just off the lead. It says a horse that likes to run in the front pack. This is the most orthodox type, with the lead horse always marked. This type is in a position to make a quick move into the front. All right, the third position, or the second from the left, is called the pack. A horse that likes to run in the middle or back, staying towards the back, this type makes a move and calmly and steadily picks up its pace. And then what I would call the trailing leg is called follow. That's the first triangle on the left-hand side. A horse that likes to run at the rear of the pack, this type of horse must be able to stay relaxed as it runs into the rear position. It is unique that the timing for when it makes a move is more difficult than getting into position. All right. We are moving on to the extras part here. It talks about editing to see if it's ever going to talk about the weather conditions, and it is not at all. So even the manual does not describe the track conditions, like firm, good, yielding. Those descriptions aren't in here. So we tried. I tried to find it for you guys and
The
failed.
horses are on the track.
All right, we're doing 10 furlongs. That was an okay thing.
And they're off.
I think this track might not have a rough. Oh, it does have a rough, and we need to get out of it. Sometimes the controller of a 20-year-old Xbox can get a little, or a PlayStation can get a little sticky. I might need to take the controller apart and clean it. All right, so here we're running in what I would call the follow leg. I have to say, I loved spring racing in this game. The cherry trees and the cherry blossoms floating down look really cool. All right, but this is not the position that we want to be in at all. So we're going to start gradually increasing our speed here. We're running in the yellow. We're still gaining green power there, you can see, but that's not ideal. I want to be in the green, but not in the yellow. And we stop gaining power. So basically what we have is what we have. Actually, you used a little bit of it right there. But now we're in the correct position. Number 14, we're going to have 2 or 3 horses ahead of us, so we'll hit the whip. We overtake the 14 and the 1. The 12 is coming with us. We are using the reins there. Again, that's up on the D-pad. We're not going to need them, and we easily win that race. After what I would consider not a great start, we covered a lot of ground there
Winner
on the outside. Not ideal. All right, so that's the Azalea Cup. That's a grade 1 race. SY, Sunny, F and F, fast and firm in the upper right-hand corner. That's what I've been trying to find the descriptions of, and they aren't there. They aren't out there to find. At least not while I'm describing the match at the same time. All right, we got some more abilities showing up here. Speed 87, not great. Staying 86. Stamina 70. Power 83. So really, our horse, if it ran on dirt, would prefer wet dirt as opposed to dry dirt, which sounds bonkers, but that's the way it is. All these, I would consider the filled triangles to be just average. So the only thing that's bad, in my opinion, is dry dirt. Young Mile Cup, we could try that and see how good we are. And that's another thing when we're talking about distance. This horse prefers 9 furlongs and above. I don't know if the top limit had been determined yet. I didn't see that. Or maybe it's 13. So ideally, this horse is going to perform best in races that are 9 to 13 furlongs long. Any more than 13 furlongs I wouldn't recommend, because there's a chance your horse could just run out of energy totally. That being said, though, I wouldn't hesitate to race a shorter race. Just know that there are horses that specialize in that kind of short distance, and you may not perform as well in a shorter race. So I have no problem going below the recommended distance for the horse. But that being said, going over that is very sketchy, in my opinion. I've had it happen where the horse just ran out of energy with a furlong left. The meter's black, there's nothing there, and all the other horses just continue on, and your horse finishes like 100 furlongs behind, you know.
And away they go.
All right, so here we go. We're going for another grade 1 win. We're in the middle of the pack. You can see this horse does not like, I think it's taken after its mother, who likes to run from the rear. This horse is not good at getting to the correct pack position in the beginning of the race. Not good at doing that. And then it overexerts itself, like right there, we're already in the yellow. This is a horse that will gradually get to the front over time. So once you understand how your horse likes to run in a race, make contact there. Be advised, some horses react very badly to contact. So I'm not shying away from contact, but I'm not looking for it either. Here we have to fight to get an open position. But now we're going to take the lead, and we're really going to blow away the field here. These horses are coming on a little bit. We are going to just continue using the reins and go back to the whip. Can we hold them off? I don't think we can. Yeah, we didn't hold them off. And I'm not saying I rode that badly. I'm saying I didn't ride it perfectly. So I think there's a chance we might do a retry. Yeah. Course loss, overpace, bad on corners. We are going to retry that. We'll pay the penalty for retrying. Again, if you didn't see it in the first episode, retry a race, it has to be a grade 1 race. You can only retry it once, and you can't do any betting on it if you retry it. So we're going to retry. Let's see how that goes.
The horses are on the track.
Perfect start.
And away they go. That was a great start.
All right, if I had the horse with the starting whip thing, I would have whipped it. It would be way in front right now. And to be clear, I think I've only had one horse that had that whip special ability. I would only whip the horse one time. I wouldn't do 3 whips like I do near the finish.
Okay, this is where the race is won.
All right, everybody's all spread out here, kind of like a NASCAR race. But they're already starting to go out for the finish. We made contact there and lost our energy. But we found a space here between these 2 horses, and we're going to take off. The horse we ran into is actually going with us. The 2 is creeping up too, but I think we've got it this time. We are using the reins still, but we are going to take the victory in the retry.
We have a winner.
All right, and we have unlocked horse title
the
race,
horse title
Spring
race.
Triple Crown. All right, well, the computer thought that race wasn't particularly great. All right, we're still at the S star level. Our best trait is tenacity at 91. So this horse isn't even really that fast, per se. Not even in the 90s for speed yet. It's just a very tenacious horse. And we haven't triggered all these special abilities yet. Kind of terrifying. A lot of unlocked, or a lot of potential yet to be unlocked. But the thing that's really good about this horse is the response is 89. To me, that is good. Does that mean the horse is responsive to what you're doing to it? And I like that. All right, let's find our next race here. Should be the Washington Derby. All right, we're going to put in for that one. And that should get us the Spring Triple Crown if we are victorious. Let's place our bets here. Yeah, I hate to say it. I think I mentioned this earlier. I really wish someone would spend the money to hook up with horse racing in North America and make a modern version of this game with the real tracks. They could do what EA Sports does. Why doesn't EA Sports make this game? You know, go out there, do the laser computer scans of all the horse tracks, program in the idiosyncrasies, the music, and all that stuff. Loop in the Breeders' Crown, win if you're in. I just think it would get a whole new generation of people attracted to horse racing and I think it would make a lot of money. I would buy that.
horses
If it was
are on
this
the
game but modernized with real locations and real races, I would buy it almost immediately. You know, I'd be like an early adopter.
That was a
I'd buy
great
it before it
start.
came out. That's how much I really enjoy this game. Is that if someone just modernized this game and didn't change anything else, I would probably still buy it. I probably would still pay $40 for a modernized version, graphics-wise, of this game that ran on my Xbox. So it's just funny to me how they have games for like lacrosse and paintball and stuff like that. And look, I know that there's a modern horse racing game called Barlap. I'm not interested in that at all. It's not like this at all, in my opinion, based on what I've seen. I just think it would do well if they marketed it correctly. I just don't think the appetite is there. I know this series is still very popular in Japan. They run modern versions of this all the time. I wouldn't be, and that's the other thing. Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, those guys love horse racing. A lot of horse racing in the United Kingdom. South America is starting to come on as a horse racing hotbed for talent and stuff like that. So it's just really funny to me how I think it's an untapped market and they're not willing to go after it. But this game really needs like an EA Sports treatment, in my opinion. All right, we're going to nose out here and get some open room. The horse is crowding me a little bit. We're going to go to the whip at 2. And we've got one horse with us, and here's the stall. We are nosing ahead, and we are going to take the lead. The 12 is coming on, but too late, and we're going to take that win. And just something else that I always thought is funny. Normally the helmet that the jockey wears is color coordinated with his silks. But in this race, they color coordinate them with your post position, which I think is different, but normally it's not that way. All right, we won that, and we won a pretty big bet there. 10-12 exacta, and so that is a nice chunk of change. We've definitely made our money back breeding this horse and racing it and stuff like that. So at this point, once you make your money back, if you're not pleased with your horse or what you're seeing, no one says you have to keep racing it. But that being said, we're going to keep racing this horse because this horse has more to give. And even though we're only a star level horse right now, I believe that superstar evolution is out there. Maybe after a couple more races, we're still below 90 in speed and staying, and we still have 3 special abilities yet to be triggered. But remember, this horse is still just kind of entering its 3-year-old year. There's still a lot out there for this horse. All right, Summer GP is there. A lot of these weeks are empty because there are future races yet to be unlocked that aren't available there. So I think we are going to end up racing in the Summer GP. The Osaka Derby is a possibility to get a dirt race under our belt. Or the Osaka Mile. I wish I had a weather forecast. All right. Sprinters, are we gonna enter the Osaka Derby? I guess we are. All right, we're going on to the dirt for the first time with Smoky Gem and see what we get out of it. We are not the favorite. We are not at all the favorite. And again, sunny, fast, and firm for our track conditions here. We're going to bet on ourselves to win at 9.3 to 1. And is that it? We're going to bet an exacta? No, we're not. All right, missed horn. Look at that. I wonder who set that track record. Oh, we did. All right, let's blow through all that. Oh, terrible start.
And they're off. Oh, it's a late start.
Terrible start. We're going to try to go for the rail. There's no such thing as rough on a dirt track. So we're going to go for the rail. I know a lot of people don't like the rail in real life. Because it's easy for your horse to get pinned against the rail and not have anywhere to go. But usually, in my opinion, in this game, the horses tend to veer out at the end, and that could leave a clear path to the finish line for a horse that's running on the rail. And I would especially do this if you were running a horse that had the last to first ability or preferred that follow or trailing leg being at the very back of the pack. You want to be in a position where you can hit the jets and do your run and have a clear path to the finish. And if you tried it on the outside, you'd have to run around all these other horses. And when you're maneuvering left or right, you can't be going as fast forward. So, not like a car. So, here I'm going to find my space right here and hit the whip at 2.2. We're going to go to the lead and we're going to force the other horse outside around this horse that's next to us.
Don't give up now.
Special ability unlocked for Grit. Another special ability, stretch bursts.
Finish!
We are not going to win the race.
My goodness, they've lost their chance at the title.
And I think I'm going to keep that loss simply because it triggered 2 abilities. There's no guarantee that they would trigger again. So our second special ability is called Grit. And again, we'll reread the description of Grit, if I can find it here in this tremendously large manual. Grit says, shows power when head-to-head with other horses. And again, a lot of these special abilities are only triggered down the stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of these special abilities are only triggered down the stretch. Or 17 of them. So there's 3 that key at the start. There's one that is called Start Dash, where if you get the little arrows to match up, where it flashes, your horse just speeds off at the beginning. We already talked about Whip. The other one is Slow Start, where your horse sucks out of the starting gate. By the way, you can see we're at superstar level now with Smoky Gem. So it took a little bit to get there, but now this horse is officially a superstar, and so we've got to race it like it is a superstar. We expect to win these grade 1 races. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-ish skills trigger during the race. We could talk about those while making my bets, but I can barely read these. Solo running displays power at the front of a smooth gallop. God, I literally can't read these. I hit the lights. Maybe the lights will make it easier to read stuff. All right. Front runner displays power running all out and away from the pack. These ones are orange. Orange skills. Pace down displays power when urged on during the race. And then free, strong from a bad position. The opposite of free is the minus skill called inflexible, which is weak from a bad position. Then we've got one called fast pace okay, strong at a fast pace, or slow pace okay, strong at a slow pace. Obviously, fast pace no good, or slow pace no good, means you're weak at those paces. Likes pack, another orange skill, strong when surrounded by horses, hates pack. weak when surrounded by horses. So if you had a horse that ran at the rear and it had a weak pack minus, I would think about keeping that, because that's true. You don't want to be in the pack. Then there is a toughness skill called Tough. Small damage when jostled, and the opposite of that would be Delicate. Big damage when jostled, so your horse would lose a lot of energy. Some minuses skills: Dust to no good, falters after swallowing dirt. So if you had this minus skill called Dust NG, and you were behind other horses on the dirt track, you could lose energy because of that. Another one called Stubborn ignores and has poor harmony with the jockey. I would never race a horse that had the stubborn ability to it. All right, stretch skills. We'll go through these. Instant response shows power when making early kick. Second wind shows power when once again shooting ahead of the pack. Last corner leader shows power as a front runner after the last corner. That's an orange skill. The first two of those were blue ones. Then
down the
a grit skill called Closer shows power when taking lead all at once from behind. Then we have the explosive skills. Best Course shows power when running on inside of course. Pack Split shows power when bursting through the center of the pack. Spurt shows power when coming on from behind on the straightaway. From Outside shows power when running on the outside of the course. And Last to First shows power when coming from last place on straightaway. Speaking of straightaway, we're in a straightaway, cruising to victory in this race. And Smoky Gem takes another grade 1 victory.
Excellent!
Even though we ran out of energy at the end.
We have
And there's an inquiry probably for our racing
Horse
actions.
title earned.
But don't worry, we still won the Triple Crown, ladies and gentlemen, and set the record 3 minutes, 2.6 seconds in the Prince Cup. Yep, we got a block course, but that's okay. We still won, and we won our bet. All right, continuing on with the special abilities, couple minus skills. One is called Bears, doesn't run straight when whipped too much, loses will, tends to lose will when takes the lead too early. By the way, we are at 91 speed now, 90 staying. So that's why we broke into that superstar status just in time to win that race. The final stretch abilities: Persistency. This is like the horse on fire symbol. Extremely tenacious just before the finish. Strong Heart excels at maintaining final speed. Grit shows power when head-to-head with other horses. Sorry I had to cut myself off. Video's about to end. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.